Better learn quick, cause my click don't pop. Play my crew, hard, beat. What folks take off, make sure you don't see. Billboard beat. Make this money, take this money. Ain't no way you can take this money. Ain't this money, take your money, take your money.
So let's get it. They say register vote. That's right. Bro Diallo is back. Live and direct. Q4 radio. Alright, that's enough, G-Def. Calm down. Calm down. Bad boy in his heyday. Anyway, this is Bro Diallo Show. Q4 radio. AM 1680. iTunes app. TuneIn app. And, of course, always Q4.org. Wherever you at, that's where we be. This is Q4. Progressive, non-commercial, community radio. I'm welcoming myself back, and I'm shouting out and I'm apologizing to my listeners. Last week, I had to make an emergency visit. I was out of town handling my business, holding things down for the fam. So anyway, I wasn't here, and I wasn't expecting to not be here. If I'm going to be absent, I'd like to let people know, for the people them, and set up some other type of. But anyway, it was a last minute trip that could not be rescheduled or avoided. But no points crying over spilled milk. We here now, a lot to discuss. I know I had even posted a show on impeachment, and to talk about impeachment from a Pan-African point of view. And if I have time, I will bring up some of that, what I pulled up, and what I wanted to bring up and break down related to Donald Trump's impeachment and what it means to African people, because I'm hearing a lot of people spew Pavlovian responses to the impeachment. Y'all salivate at the sound of the bell. I'm hearing everybody say the same thing. And when you hear everybody say the same thing, a disunified people, a disorganized people, a people who have yet to coalesce on a liberationist ideology, indoctrinated menticidal people who all spew in unison the same retort related to a public event, this is more than just people's personal opinions or personal conclusions. This is programming. This is when they implanting them thoughts. And I sure don't want to go too deep into that, but all of y'all talking about, Trump, impeachment don't mean nothing. He ain't done nothing. Everybody been saying, the hood, the community, the streets been talking the same rhetoric in related to Trump since his election. And black people and Trump have a very, very weird relationship. Y'all get really weird when it comes to Trump. I understand Trump is a weird dude. So if you're going to have any relationship with Trump, it's going to be a weird relationship. His relationship to his daughters, weird AF. His relationship to his sons, including Barron. Remember, they got Barron buried away somewhere in a chamber. Weird AF. His relationship to his father and his mother, weird AF. And his relationship to his supporters, weird. His relationship to the black masses, y'all making it weird. Weird AF. So, yeah, Trump is just a weird dude, and the black community's various responses to him have been just as weird and unsettling. And I don't want to talk about it because even some people that I hold near and dear got some weird positions. Y'all relating in a weird way, but I don't fully hold it against you because there's no other way to relate to this weirdo president. And I ain't saying weird. I mean, yes, he's a racist and a misogynist, but everybody is. I mean, all these white folks, white men in power are. But he carry it different. Anyway, speaking of presidential candidates, The Democratic neoliberal frontrunner is breaking down and imploding. Every day, Biden gets in front of a camera. He's saying some off stuff, behaving very weird. It could be psychological deterioration, you know. And remember why he didn't run, because it's the tradition. Well, it's not really a tradition in the modern political arena now. Because usually, like after Bill Clinton, if you have a successful two-term president, it's generally the tradition that the vice president will try to run to continue that momentum. Like Bill Clinton and Al Gore. After Bill Clinton's two terms and him leaving office with relative popularity, Al Gore threw his hat in the ring. And so that's been, it's not really, you can't really call it a tradition, because right after that, George Bush, Dick Cheney didn't run. He didn't go for Dolo. It is very obvious that Mike Pence intends to run for president if Trump has a successful second bid, because Mike Pence has been sheltered, he's been isolated, he's been encapsulated and kept away from many of Trump's scandals. And even though he's ankle deep, knee deep in the impeachment corruption scandal, and even though Trump himself personally has tried to implicate Mike Pence as vice president, you'll see that the larger Republican Party and the larger Republican political operatives have sought to keep him sheltered, to keep him clean, to keep that orange funk off of that lily white man. Weirdo lily white with, you know, Judeo-Christian incestual vibes. Weirdo, dispensational evangelical Christian. Try to protect Mike Pence. But the reason Joe Biden, who's ran for president before, long before Obama was even into politics, was running for president without success. Joe Biden has wanted to be president for many decades, but he couldn't even make it past the primary stage. But remember, his son had died of one of his good son, the good boy. You always lose the good child first, you know. That's just how it is. That's the fate of humanity. Your scummy crackhead son, Hunter Biden, he's gonna be around forever. He's gonna be there to bury you and dance on your grave. But your good son, your noble son, your heroic soldier son, died of a weird brain tumor just as Obama's second term was wrapping up. So Biden didn't mount a presidential campaign because he wanted to take time to mourn his son. Now, I don't believe that, because these reptilian Illuminati elites, they don't really have normal human emotions. They are not fully human. Simply because, you know, no human could be a part of something that engages in mass scale murder, incarceration, environmental degradation. I mean, if I was elected president, I'm absolutely unelectable. I couldn't be alderman. And people say because I have these radical views, but in actuality, my views are not very radical. The only reason my views and my ideas are radical is because the world is so effed up. The world is so unbelievably off kilter. Because my views to me are extremely grounded and practical. But grounded and practical ideas become radical in an environment where everything is up in the air, where people really believe that the world was made in 7 days, that the earth is flat, that fiat currency has the ultimate value over nature, over existence, over life. People really believe that rich people who invest fiat currency are the job creators, whereas the actual laborers are fortunate to work on behalf of these people who do nothing. People who believe that Donald Trump is a self-made, brilliant, stable genius. I mean, in a world like this, being grounded, practical, being just and humane Makes you radical. But anyway, back to Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and Dead Boy Biden. I don't remember Dead Boy Biden's name, but he died of a brain tumor because he was overseas. And something you have to realize about overseas. The United States engages in what is called dumping all over the world. And they dump subsidized agricultural goods. They dump nuclear waste. They also dump outlawed or uncertified medical instruments and medical chemicals. U.S. corporations and the U.S. government. Even Always. Remember Always? Everybody got mad because they wanted to try to accommodate non-gender conforming individuals who still menstruate but don't identify as female, genderqueer, trans men. And everybody was mad at Always for taking off the pagan vegans, all these Christians mad that a pagan symbol was removed from a corporate product. Yeah, that seems like something Jesus would go to the fence for. That seems like something Jesus would bang on. I don't remember Jesus saying anything about menstrual products, but Jesus said a lot about economics and justice, about poverty and wealth and justice. But, Christians don't pay no attention to that. They want to go ride at the Always headquarters, but they don't go ride in the bank like Jesus actually did and instructed them to do. I have a needle. But I digress. The United States dumps toxic products, chemicals, waste, weapons all over the world. In fact, the reason why, where Trump talks about he wants to bring the jobs back from China, he wants to start jobs in China, one of the primary reasons, two reasons why jobs went overseas. Why the United States used to be the primary manufacturer of refrigerators, televisions, automobiles, consumer electronics, weapons. Oh, they still hold that weapons crown. The United States still is the primary maker, especially of small arms that nobody wants. No nation wants armed citizens armed to the teeth besides Second Amendment sanctuary of the United States. But anyway, the reason why your manufacturing went overseas is number one, cheap labor. And when I say cheap labor, it's not just that people are working for 35 cents an hour. I mean cheap labor in terms of people's lives aren't valued. Meaning that you don't have to give people safe working conditions, protective gear. You don't have to give people that work around toxic fumes, you don't have to give them respirators. When people are injured, you don't have to give them workers' comp. When people are broken and worn out, their bodies are broken, you don't have to give them Social Security. When someone dies at the job, you don't have to pay their family survivor's benefits. So when these companies go overseas for cheap labor, we're not just talking about the starvation wages. We're talking about the ultimate devaluation of their life. But hey, it's worth it if you can update every year, get a brand new iPhone. That's number one. That's the number one reason. The number two reason is devaluation of environmental standards. So if I could go open a factory overseas, I don't have to pay my workers, I don't have to protect my workers, and I don't have to be accountable to my workers and their families or their nation. Number two is all the toxic waste. Just for one pair of jeans, you go to any department store in your community, go to any shopping mall, any retailer, Target, Walmart, you can go to the Gap if you got a little bit more money. Banana Republic, some of y'all ball out. I don't know where y'all shop. I don't know the name of the super fancy stores. Gucci, Louis, Fendi, that's from a song that's never been to a Gucci store, Louis store, Fendi, but I see the videos. I see y'all balling on Instagram. I'm checking y'all. All right, y'all get it now. Get it. I see how y'all living. But you go to any of those stores, and you see mountains and mountains of finished products. Jeans, sweaters, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken, whatever. You name it. You see mountains of all these products. Just one pair of those jeans in your neighborhood, and then you could go from town to town. From the Bay Area in Oakland to Bronx and New York City and all cities in between, you see mountains of these products. Every single one of those products is associated with so much water pollution, air pollution, and environmental contamination. One pair of jeans can produce upwards of 80 to 100 gallons of polluted, contaminated water. From the dyeing process, your stone-washed jeans and the worn-looking jeans, when that craze where everybody wanted to buy jeans to look like they had been wearing them for 30 years and wanted them acid-washed, stone-washed, beaten, ripped jeans, that process for fading that denim released tons of particulate matter that people would inhale and damage their lungs. And if they were doing that in the United States because of one of the bloodiest, longest running labor battles in the world, United States implemented environmental standards and worker standards. Going all the way back to the era of Teddy Roosevelt, to the 19 teens in the early 1920s, even though the United States was racist AF, the United States also had a level of nationalism. So going back to Teddy Roosevelt, they one of the first nations to implement an environmental programs to protect national forests, to protect waterways. And even old Tricky Dick Nixon created the Environmental Protection Agency and OSHA. And so the capitalists said, wow, we're going to have to preserve the environment, use less toxic means of manufacturing, and pay people living wages. Nah, no, they're not. They were like, let's move it overseas where they don't have those regulations. And then if a leader in a third world country rises up and says, well, I want OSHA protection for my workers. I want to set up environmental protection and environmental standards and emission standards in my country. Then they could bring the economic hitmen, the jackals, and the Marines and call that person a terrorist, call that person a communist, call that person a dictator, call that person a cannibal, call that person, like they did Noriega, a Nazi sex fiend, and say whatever they want to say because people in the United States watch media and consume news, but they don't engage in critical analysis or thinking. And so they go overthrow that place, and then they put in a leader who is both attractive to the people and loyal to the enemies of the people, which is a thing. And don't look down on third world people, because here in the first world, with all y'all good education, we fell for it too. Obama was attractive and still is attractive to black people, but he's loyal to oppressors, to racists, to white people. So we fall for it too. But we get to have the illusion that, oh, it's an election and we voted him in and he's our guy. In many countries of the third world, like Haiti, they understand that their leaders do not represent them, that their leaders don't hold their interests at hand, and they don't get all hot and bothered when their leaders come about because they know they getting played how y'all do with Obama. So don't think that I'm tearing down third world people. It's just that the United States, and I'm going to tie this back to Biden and dead son Biden. Give me a second. Just my setup. So anyway, the whole world is contaminated, but some areas are more contaminated than others. Notice how I play on that Orwellian Animal Farm. Remember when the pig says, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others? So yes, the whole world is polluted. Yes, your wife, your mother, your sister, auntie, they all have dioxin and other toxins in their breast milk. Yes, you have all your glands have hormone mimicking and hormone disrupting chemicals that haven't even been on the earth more than 3 decades. Yes, we all. But some areas have not just background levels of contamination, but concentrated areas of lead contamination, so on and so forth. So anyway, when we Americans go overseas, whether you're going there to invade countries, you're enlisting the military and you go overseas to sustain the empire, or you over there balling, shot calling with 20-inch rims on your Impala. Whether you over there balling, taking selfies in front of these exotic people in these exotic places, showing us just how wonderful your life is online, you are exposing yourself to more concentrated, higher, more intense. You go to Japan because you're an anime fiend. It's Fukushima. You go to Africa where literally millions of tons of e-waste, all those old phones, all those big fat monitors, all those first, second, and third generation flat screen TVs, car batteries, old tires, all go to Africa. Now you got these multinational white corporations that will go to Vietnam, go to Taiwan, go to the African continent, go to Mexico, and set up these little oases. They'll go into these poor third world countries and set up these resorts, set up these hotels, give you bottled water, and give you detailed maps of how to travel through this oppressed colony in a way that doesn't disturb your liberal, Western, or even pro-black nationalist sensibilities. But still, pollution, contamination, toxicity does not recognize borders. And so anyway, you'll find that a lot of veterans that go overseas to fight for your freedoms, to defend democracy, and to spread the word of God, or whatever the imperial army rhetoric is this week, a lot of them come back with a lot of weird diseases and a lot of behaviors, psychological. And they think a lot of this PTSD. A lot of soldiers go overseas and see no combat. They sit in air-conditioned cubicles using robots to kill people, or they sit in air-conditioned cubicles doing paperwork. They never bust guns, but they come back here and they're jacked up. They got these weird, and there's been documentaries. I think there was one called Beyond Betrayal, Beyond Treason. There's a documentary called Beyond Treason. And it's on YouTube, the full thing, that talks in detail. Now it's propaganda. It's propaganda. It's pro-military propaganda, but embedded in that pro-military propaganda is a lot of truth to this, but that I'm talking about. But anyway, those soldiers come back with a lot of weird diseases that doctors are not even familiar with, that don't even exist outside of the third world. So, anyway, Hunter Biden and a lot of other soldiers come here, and they used to talk about Gulf War syndrome. And that was a big thing. But there's been a syndrome. There was a Vietnam War syndrome. There was a Korean War syndrome. And there is an Iraqi War and Afghani War syndrome. Anyway, all that to say, Biden's son died of some weird, freaky cancer that he got from overseas service and being exposed to third world contamination, as he went overseas to sustain the ability of the United States to continue to dump toxic medicines. A lot of medicines that are not approved for consumption in the United States. A lot of medicines that are expired. You go look at that, another documentary called Life and Death. They were dumping chicken in Haiti and Jamaica that was 25 years old. Chicken that has been stored away for 25 years. And they didn't want to throw it away because this is capitalist. This is not a planned economy. This is a helter-skelter system. And so overproduction is a problem. Right now in Chinese factories are in secluded lots. They got refrigerators and airplanes and tanks, all these products. They got whole arena-sized field full of cars. From 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. All these cars that nobody ever drove from decades ago. And every year, we're almost in 2020. And the new 2020 models are going to come out. And they didn't sell all the 2019, 2017, 2018, 2010 cars. We don't need more cars to be. The United States and the global capitalist economy could literally go the next 20 years without ever making another microwave, television, cell phone, or automobile. And every citizen that wants or needs an automobile could still have one. Overproduction, market saturation is essential, and then that's why you need government subsidies. But that ain't what the show is about. But it's all connected. Joe Biden, blubbering Biden, who's not fit to be a grandfather, let alone the president of the United States, filling up on children and young girls all the time. Can't keep his grubby, nasty hands to himself. But anyway, then Biden was the front runner. And the reason he's running is because he said, oh, my son died, and I'm going to take time to mourn my son. These subhuman scumbags don't give a damn about their children. Yeah, I'm saying, I mean, what's the point now? If Obama and Biden can kill millions of people overseas, I still have to play polite. I still have to use, well, former vice president or vice president Biden. Boy, let me tell you something. Y'all lucky I'm on the FCC frequency. And I'm sick of y'all showing any level of respect for these mass murderers. But anyway, I digress. That's not why he didn't run. He didn't run because Hillary and the DLC said it's Hillary's time. They feel like Obama bumped the line. If things were really supposed to go according to the agenda, it would have been Hillary, then Obama, and then maybe Biden or whoever else. But Hillary kept telling y'all, it's my time, it's my time. And so they told Biden, fall back. Hell, they might have even killed Biden. So who knows? Illuminati. Who knows? We do know. But let's pretend. It's say we got to inject this Illuminati, because I got to say reptilians and Illuminatis, because if I just talk about the boring facts of reality, people don't care. You got to put some Star Trek, Star Wars, sci-fi, fantasy BS in there in order to get people to buy into it. But anyway, so that's why Biden hasn't been the president for the last 4 years. He claims his son died of some freaky disease. The good son. It's always the good one. That's why if you're a child now and you got siblings, be the scummy sibling. Don't try to be the good sibling. It increases your survival potential exponentially. That's why I've always strived to be the worst, much worse than my brothers and sisters. The good ones, you always lose one. I mean, that's just the fate. That's just the fate. I don't know why that is. Maybe some of you spiritualists, numerologists can explain that to me. But Biden had a good boy. He had a strong-jawed, upstanding, patriotic soldier of a son. And then he had a scheming, crackhead son that's got him in trouble right now. That got him, in the headlines. But anyway, Biden has fallen off. All that to say, Biden was the hand-picked front runner for the neoliberal Democratic Leadership Council. The same people that hand-picked Bill Clinton, that hand-picked Obama. Then they passed the torch or passed the baton or gave the crown to Biden. And Biden couldn't hold down the crown. And he was the front runner thanks to old black people. Old black Democrats, boy, let me tell you something. If I was the king of black people, I would revoke any black person over the age of 55. I'd take away your right to vote. I'd slap your hands and take away your right to vote. I'd give you a pudding cup and sit you in front of a TV to watch. What y'all like? What old? Do y'all still like the Cosby Show? Whatever old ham bones. Wheel of Fortune. I'd hook y'all up. Don't worry. If King Diallo would do right by y'all, I'd put Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy. Hell, I even pull up who that lady that Falcon Crest, Dynasty, whatever. And of course, reruns of the Cosby Show. But none of that newfangled, none of that different world, and them silly boys with them silly haircuts and shirts and shoes. No. And I'd put y'all and say, fall back. Because y'all Old black voters be, man, y'all be playing us. Y'all tried to put Hillary on our backs. And then after y'all tried to put Hillary on our backs, and as a result of y'all putting Hillary on our backs, we got Trump on our backs. And then when Biden jumped up, every old black Democrat jumped up and ran and sat in Biden's lap. And nuzzled yourself. And I didn't blame y'all for Obama. Go back and look to the Bro Diallo archives. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, go back. And I said, don't be harassing these old blacks for voting for Obama. It's the wrong thing to do, but we got to let them have it. Give them this. And I said, leave these old blacks alone. Now, that's enough now. Now fall back. Because these old black ham bones, chitlin cleaners, y'all screwing us over politically. Now y'all did a good. Y'all marched. Y'all took them hits. Y'all got us this far. Now rest. Stop voting, man, because these old black Democrats blow my mind. I'm talking to my aunties, uncles, cousins, my mama, my grandmama. All of y'all need to fall back, because ain't no way in the world after Obama's triumphant failures. That's what Obama is, a triumphant failure. First black president. And the only thing that is remarkable about his presidency is that he's black. That's it. He did nothing else remarkable. Oh, he saved the economy. Oh, he ain't done nothing. He put some chewing gum on a crack dam. He saved the economy, but he sacrificed the people. Mortgages, debt, foreclosures, all that. I mean, do I gotta run it down? So yes, he saved financial institutions that created the problem. He saved a lot of corrupt investors and a lot of corrupt workers from prison. He saved General Motors, a dying dinosaur of a company that should have been allowed to die under the Carter administration. While he let black folks and he let black people sink into further economic depravity, and he allowed white folks to go into a white nationalist frenzy. And he didn't do anything to stop us from sinking and stop the neo-Nazis from rising. Did nothing, ignored it. Even Bill Clinton was banging on the militias and the right-wing white. That's why Timothy McVeigh blew up the Murrah Federal Building. He did that, stated, because Bill Clinton was banging so hard on the white right wing. And I'm not saying he wasn't doing that for us. He wasn't doing it on our behalf, because he was also mass incarcerating us. But Clinton went after a lot of people he identified as his enemies. Obama did nothing but cater to his enemies and beat the hell out of his allies. But anyway, saying all that to say, the front-runner, the hand-picked front-runner for the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, is falling off hard. To the point where they got Buttigieg up front, and one week Buttigieg will be up top, and then the next week Elizabeth Warren. And it's Warren and Buttigieg, banging it out towards trying to take that head spot, while, Bernie is just riding basically on cruise control. And so anyway, the DLC, the Democratic Party, is panicking because there might be a true reformer or true liberal to take the seat. And there hasn't been a real liberal Democrat in office since Jimmy Carter. There hasn't been a FDR Democrat in office since, FDR. And so they want what is called, which is inaccurately called, centrist Democrat. Bill Clinton, centrist Democrat. Obama, right-leaning centrist Democrat. That's what they want. They want politicians that are socially liberal and economically conservative. That means they want politicians that will say, yes, gender, use the bathroom of your own gender identity. And yes, we want minority representation in multinational corporations. But we are not going to do anything to stop the ravages of capitalism. We want free markets. We want unrestricted capital flow. And we will, do some reform. And then as free markets and unrestricted capital flow causes refugee crisis, we won't put children in cages. We will, but we won't announce it. Because Obama put children in cages. But Obama was violating the civil and human rights of migrants and refugees. Just like Trump. Obama was engaged in everything mass deportation to militarize borders. He just didn't brag about it. He kept it on the down low. Don't nobody have to know. He R. Kelly'd his crimes. He kept them on the down low. Whereas Trump brags about his atrocities. But they're speaking to two different audiences. They got the same goal, different support bases. So they have to cater to their support base as they both follow the same agenda. Anyway, so the Democrats are panicking. They don't want Warren. They would like to have Buttigieg, but they don't think Buttigieg is properly tested. But Buttigieg, he has some good qualities. Number one, he's gay, which is really progressive, which will really trend well with the millennials and the exennials and Generation Y, Z, and X. That will give a really progressive slant. He's openly gay, I'm sorry. There have been a lot of gay men in power to even hold the presidency. But there have been no openly gay men. There have been a lot of racist, white nationalists, imperialists, and even genocidal white men, gay white men in power. So gay white men in power is nothing new. Roy Cohn, go Google Roy Cohn. Or we all know J. Edgar Hoover. I haven't seen the movie. They had a movie where, what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio played J. Edgar Hoover. I have to check that out. See how accurate it is. A lot of times when you have, the biographical and the academic history of someone, then you see it in a movie, it kind of angers you because you're pointing out all the fluff. But anyway, so they wouldn't mind having Buttigieg because even though he's gay, he's a racist. He's a capitalist. And he is a potential, he's just a mayor, so he didn't really have an opportunity to engage in much geopolitics overseas. But I'd like to think that because he's a racist and he's a capitalist, he's got to be a willing imperialist as well. Because racism and capitalism are the building blocks of imperialism. So they wouldn't mind having Buttigieg. It would really trend well. It would really give the Democrats their desired superficial appearance of being a big tent party, of a progressive, forward-thinking, forward-moving party. So a gay, fascist, racist, imperialist, capitalist would work wonderful. Because they wanted a female imperialist, capitalist, all that, what I just said. They wanted a woman to do that. But Hillary just couldn't hold it down. Almost anybody, any Democrat aside from Hillary, but the reason Hillary is because the Republicans have spent since 1992, from 1992, have had an ongoing anti-Clinton propaganda campaign, unrelenting. Now, if you don't listen to right-wing radio, and I'm not suggesting that you do, but if you don't listen to right-wing radio or follow right-wing blogs, you wouldn't know this. But the progressives, remember I told you Clinton. You go look up the David Koresh with the Branch Davidians, the Oklahoma City bombing, Ruby Ridge shootout. You go look up Janet Reno and Bill Clinton and how they were attacking and the militia movement of the 90s and the right-wing separatist movements. Bill Clinton was really banging hard on the political far right. He was really going at them. He banged not as hard, but almost as hard as he banged on the black community. Bill Clinton wanted to join the New England Eastern elites, but he was an Arkansas hillbilly. And he wanted to prove to the New England elites that his loyalties were with the upper echelons. And the best way he figured he could join the upper echelons of society is to beat down on the hillbillies and the rednecks and the white trash. It was an identity thing. Just like a lot of black people come to power and they want to demonstrate to white people that their true loyalties are to the system. So they beat the hell out of black people and they say, look at me, boss. See, I treat these coons. I beat these Negroes as hard as you do, boss. So a lot of people that want to integrate into systems of oppression tend to become traitors to their own people or their own demographic or their own class in order to demonstrate to the elites. Because why would the elites trust them? If I was an elite person and a person from the working class or a person from the oppressed race to say I'm your friend, first thing I'm gonna think is, well, why would you be my friend? For generations, my group has done nothing but harm to your group. So one of the ways you can demonstrate to me that you are sincere in your desire to join my group is to beat the hell out of your own group, to show that you will sever all ties to your true or your original groups in order to come to my group. And a lot of times black people don't understand. We like to think certain behaviors and certain things are only unique to black people. We think that black people are the only people that have disunity. We the only people that engage in race traitors or class treason. And I keep telling y'all, we not special. And I know because y'all, we've had generations, black is king, black is beautiful, black. But you know, this is the only place you're gonna get this truth. Black people ain't special. At least we can be, but we can be special to each other. Like my wife is special to me. My children are special to me. But there's a billion other children on this planet. You know, let's keep it real. You know. So you can define what's special to you, and you can say, listen, black people are special to me. I love black people, black is black. And that's fully appropriate. If I agree with you, I feel the same way. But a lot of times we have this illusion that we have this special place in white people have this special hang up about us. We have this special ongoing conflict or this ongoing issue that we're trying to work out, black and white and blah, blah, blah. But no. White people do this same thing to everybody. They do it to their own. And I hate saying this, but I love to say it, so I'm not going to say it anymore except for when I say it. When the white people arrived to the shores of Africa, they didn't just learn slavery, genocide, colonialism, oppression, torture. They didn't learn, there's not one skill or not one atrocities that the white people imposed on Africa or the New World or Aboriginal people or the Pacific Islanders or the Asian archipelagos. There's not one atrocities that white people did not take out to the world that they had not already perfected at home on each other. Now, I don't know why this is so hard to drive home. So anyway, Bill Clinton had this same hang up. He wanted to show poor whites have to prove to rich whites when a poor white gets some money. You got the nouveau riche. So they have money, but they don't have class. And so a lot of poor whites that get into upper echelons of society become vicious, more vicious against other poor whites. And Bill Clinton did this. Go look it up. He brought hell to the hillbillies. He unleashed the Bureau of Alcohol, Firearms, and Tobaccos. We literally have a Bureau of Alcohol, Firearms, and Tobacco. Yay! That, like, literally, white trash, there's a whole federal agency that does nothing but that just watch white trash and police white trash. Yes. COINTELPRO. There are white groups that come under COINTELPRO. SDS. Weather Underground. Anyway. White folks never forgot that. They never forgive the Clintons for that. The hillbilly rednecks, all that, they never forgive. So since 1992, the Bill Clintons have been the source of all evil. You can look it up. It's all over the internet. All over these websites, all over these YouTubes, these people will tell you that the Clintons are the Zionist Zog operatives. Bill Clinton's, or they say they murdered. They say they murdered people. Been murdering people from '92. Never. Now the Clintons have been investigated for everything from Whitewater to Benghazi since 1992. The Clinton Foundation have been under ongoing constant scrutiny from the right-wing white people, even though the Clintons are right-wing white people, but they understand, the average white person understands that the Clintons are traitors to their own class. Not race traitors, but class traitors. Well, really not Hillary, because Hillary is a New Englander. She's from the upper crust. But hey, the sins of the husband shall be visited upon the wife, or something like that. So anyway, all that to say, that's what has brought us here to not the DNC, but the DLC. You got the DNC, which is the Democratic Party, but you got the DLC, the Democratic Leadership Committee, which is the banker, the funders. So you can be the most popular DNC, the most popular Democrat in America, but if the DLC don't give you the stamp of approval, you ain't getting nowhere. That's Bernie's problem. Bernie is the most popular politician in this country. And the Democrats don't want nothing to do with him, because even though the DNC, the rank and file, they like Bernie and his ideas, the DLC say, we ain't putting no money up for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. So anyway, the DLC is desperate because they're losing power. If Bernie or if Warren get elected, they're going to lose. They're not going to go away because, reoccurring infectious diseases are not that easy to get rid of. The DLC, the moneyed neoliberal Democrats are like herpes. They're desperate, though, because the boy they put up, their man in the game, their spoiler, Biden, is just imploding. And so now they got Bloomberg, a Republican, a right-wing Republican, who is now flipped to Democrats, and he's running for president. And one of the first things Bloomberg did, and I know this is old news, I'm a week behind, sue me. Don't sue me. All you're going to get is a used Xbox and some worn cardigan sweaters. Don't waste your time. It's not worth suing me. But anyway, the first thing Bloomberg did was apologize for supporting stop and frisk. He was a young man back then, less than a decade ago, in his 50s and 60s. He was a young man that just didn't know any better. So he came out, and the first thing they told him was like, look, Bloomberg, you got two problems. You're Jewish and you're a racist. So and two of the constituents that we have to win over is black votes and Jewish funding. So we got Jewish funding on lock. But then that's going to be another problem because, white folks, the rank and file white Americans, are anti-Semitic. I mean, that's one of the reasons Al Gore's lost, is because, remember, Al Gore picked his vice president, Lieberman, a right-wing conservative Zionist Democratic Jew. And white folks, again, if you listen to right-wing radio, now, a lot of times, like Fox News or Limbaugh, these mainstream journalists, quote-unquote, air quote journalists, they can't say Jew in their media. I can say Jew because nobody listens to me. But they can't say Jew. So they say New World Order. They say globalist. Even liberal, depending on the tonation when they say liberal. When they say these liberals want free stuff, they calling us niggas. But when they say liberals, they're talking about Jews. So you gotta check. See, I study white folks. Dick Gregory said we gotta study white folks. So just know, when they talk about liberals wanting free stuff and being lazy, they're talking about black people. That's basically saying it. When they say the liberal media or liberal power structure, liberal media means Jew media. So anyway, they were like, so Bloomberg, you got billions of dollars, so we can take the DLC money, instead of paying for his campaign, we can distribute that on the local level to get more neoliberal Democrats into office, more Obamites. But so you have certain pluses and minuses. But they said, Bloomberg, what you need, we need you, Bloomberg, before anything else is you got to get these black grandmas, aunties, and uncles, old black voters. You got to get the old black vote. Get the old black vote. And then he said the young black vote, don't really trip off it because young black votes, they think not voting is a militant act. So they don't vote. So you just got to get the old black vote. So first thing he came out and did was say, listen, niggas, direct quote, sorry about that stop and frisk stuff. Sorry about Rikers Island. My bad. It's all good. Somebody give me a saxophone and some sunglasses. Somebody give me the sheet music to an Al Green song. And I'll do whatever. You know, somebody give me a bucket of chitlins. And so he apologized to black people. This is a good start. I mean, if I was his advisor, I'd probably go tell him, go do some superficial, empty gesture to the black masses. And then you can get on to the real business of running for president. Do that. So anyway, you got Bloomberg. But there's a whole nother angle to this, which is crazy. You got this guy by the name of Duval Patrick, who is another black success story, who's also said he's running for president. To me, these desperate moves, and Duval Patrick is a black man who is a CEO, a capitalist, a government, and basically all around Uncle Tom, handkerchief head, bootlicking, Mormon loving black dude that nobody heard about, kind of like Byron Allen. They only show up when he want to gank black folks. Only shows up when he want to hustle black folks. But what for do? What for do? So anyway, we got Duval Patrick and Bloomberg. And they might throw some more stuff to the wall because the Democrats are in shambles. And let me tell you this, if you don't know anything else about U.S. politics, the Democratic Party would prefer to have Trump reelected than to have a true progressive like Warren or Bernie, a true reformist, elected as president. So if nothing else, if they can't get this Bloomberg, Duval Patrick, and another small short list of Democrats, of true right-wing neoliberal Democrats into office, they will self-destruct, deliberately and directly pull the rug out. So this is going to be interesting. And also Obama's back on the scene with Obama's is mad. He's mad at cancel culture and what he called political purity. But I don't want to talk about Obama right now because I don't want to throw up on the microphone and throw up all over the soundboard and all that in this studio. Ain't nobody got time for that. I'll talk about Obama some other times. But Obama's about to emerge like a sellout phoenix from the sellout flames. So we'll be able to talk about Obama down the line. And let me not, because I know people going to be like, Diallo's a Bernie bro. Diallo's all up on Elizabeth Warren. And now tell me, I don't support Bernie or Elizabeth Warren, but I would vote for Bernie or Elizabeth Warren. Hell, I would have voted for Jay Inslee if Jay Inslee was still in the race. Hells yeah, I would. But I don't support any of them because they're capitalist. Bernie is not a socialist. Bernie, nowhere on Bernie's platform does he seek to do away with private property, nor does he seek to give the ownership of the means of production to the labor force. And those are baby steps socialism. Ultimately, socialism is anarchism, seeks the absolute dissolution of the state. He does not intend to redistribute the wealth, to regulate production. He still allows for free market capitalism investment and finance capitalism. He has said nothing about opening the borders to migration and refugees and closing the border to capital flight and capital movement. So what you're saying? He's not a socialist. He is an FDR Democrat. He is a liberal Democrat. Elizabeth Warren is a progressive Democrat, and there has been several progressive movements. But I say, in terms of my agenda of Pan-Africanism and black liberation, I think Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, in an indirect way, will move us closer to our true goals. They won't get us there, and in fact, if given the option and opportunity, they would undermine our movement towards liberation just as enthusiastically as Obama or even Trump does. Sometimes you have to pick your allies, and other times you have to pick your enemies. What enemy do I think I could be most effective in having sustained opposition to? And provide, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I don't support them. Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, they're both Zionist. Israel is expanding its genocidal war in the Gaza Strip, West Bank. Israel has just illegally legalized. If you can illegally legalize, well, it's illegal under international law, but within their borders, they do what they want. So United States and Israel are both rogue nations. The UN should come and invade Israel and invade the United States and surround the White House and the Knesset in Israel and take all the leadership, all the political leadership into custody because they're all international war criminals. They have fully supported the taking of force territory. After World War II, it became illegal to expand your nation's territory by force or to take territory or deny territory by force. Now you can expand, like you can create a whole new nation. You can expand territories, you can merge nations, and you can break nations apart. Look at South Sudan and Sudan. But it has to be a decree, it has to be negotiated, and it has to be done through peaceful negotiations without coercion or intimidation. So when Ethiopia, they're having issues there with the Oromo people and Eritreans, and the Eritreans broke off of Ethiopia, had their own nation. Now the Oromo people want to create Oromo land, and even though Oromos have a very strong presence in the Ethiopian governance, they still want their own separate nation. So, or just like black people had this insane notion that we would take the southern states and create the Republic of New Africa. Like the United States could do that if the U.S. and the Congress and the legal means say, hey, we're going to break this off and going to create a new nation. But if the Africans of the Republic of New Africa took up arms and took that territory by force, then the Republic of New Africa would be in violation of international law. But anyway, all that to say that the United States and Israel are international, but I mean they break international law every day. But this is another egregious violation of international law. And Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren both came out saying that they condemn the United States and Israel for legitimizing the forceful taking of Palestinian territory. But they still support the nation of Israel, and they also support Israel's right to defend itself. And whenever you hear, Obama said this too, whenever you hear a public figure say they support Israel's right to defend itself, it is them saying they support the campaign of genocide against the Palestinian people, and by extension, the region. It is no different. Support for Israel is no different than the support of South Africa under the apartheid regime. It is no different. And history will ultimately play this out. And you'll see how South Africa and all these politicians under the Reagan era and the Bushes and even Democratic have expressed their support. And when they started to try to have boycott campaigns against South Africa. There were black artists and black companies that say, hey, I'm going to do business in South Africa under apartheid. And artists like Stephanie Mills and even artists that are alive today went to apartheid South Africa and violated the boycott. And now you have the boycott, divestment, and sanction movement against Israel. And you have people, black artists, who proudly violate that. And when it's all come out in the wash and you have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission or however it gets resolved, you're going to have other people that try to just hold their heads down and try to play it off like they didn't support genocide and apartheid. And the next genocidal apartheid regime that rises up somewhere in the world that white people implement will have black supporters, just like South Africa did and just like Israel does. This is the cycle. We got traitors among us, so be it. But moving on. This is Q4 Radio, AM 1680. This is the Bro Diallo Show. You can listen at, if you're in the city of Chirac, state of Illinois. I don't think I stated the date, which I apologize. Today is Monday, December 2nd, in the year of your Lord, 2019. You can listen to the Bro Diallo Show on Q4 Radio. That's QUE, the number 4.org. You can download the TuneIn app and iTunes Radio and take us with you wherever you go. And of course, if you are in the city of Chirac, in the state of Illinois, and the United States of America, on the dying, over-resourced, under-supported planet Earth, you can listen anywhere in the world. But if you're in Chirac, you can listen to AM 1680. That's done. Now I want to talk about Judge Joe Brown and the Tubman 20. I've been bumping heads with some black folks. Some of y'all black folks hooping and hollering. Y'all mad. Y'all celebrate when Obama said he was going to put Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. And then y'all got mad when racist Donald Trump said we ain't putting no $20 on, putting no Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. And now we fighting over black faces on white money. Talk about black faces in high places. I thought we already resolved that. I thought Obama put any discussion over the value of black faces in high places was put to bed. I thought we was done of this. All done with this. But apparently, we are not. We still think having a black CEO, Byron Allen, having a black President Obama, and having a black face on the white man's dollar bill, y'all, somehow is in any way a positive change for African people. But it ain't. But people mad at me. People think there's something wrong with me. Because I don't support putting Harriet Tubman's face on the $20 bill. I think it's more appropriate to having the genocidal, racist, slave owner, Indian killer, Andrew Jackson, on the $20 bill. Because I think, just like the white people say, it is more reflective of American tradition, American values, and American reality today. So, what's the issue? Why are we even talking about this? Because I already did a whole discussion in the Bro Diallo archives that talks about the Tubman 20 and my views on the Tubman 20. I had put it to bed. I said I didn't want it. Trump said he didn't want it. Me and Trump agree on that. You keep your blood money on your side. And that's all it is. That's all it was. And that's how we do. But then, Dr. Umar, I thought after he moved to Wilmington, Delaware, he moved out of that trash heap. He's the grouch of Pan-Africanism. He lives in a trash can. He ain't the prince, he's the grouch. But anyway, he interviewed Judge Joe Brown. And Judge Joe Brown said putting a black woman on a $20 bill before a black man is insulting to the black race. Which I'm not surprised. Of course he would say it. But what's really surprising to me is you go to places like Madame Noir and The Root and these other black scholars, black intellectuals, black commentators, and they're calling Judge Joe Brown a hotep. They're calling Judge Joe Brown a hotep. Now, that bothers me a lot. Because you can't get, because I did whole shows, I've talked about the hotep phenomenon and what they said. Now, what a hotep, now there's so many ways to come at this, but let me first state the intelligent response to a black historical figure being put on U.S. currency should be, for an intelligent black person, indifference. That should be our response. Indifference. That's the most intelligent response. If you cannot hold indifference to what these people do with their fiat currency, step 2 should be outrage. How dare they co-opt the image of a freedom fighter for the currency of an oppressor, an enslaver, a racist nation that is still oppressive, that still holds literally 1 million black people in slavery, and that is just as racist as it was in Tubman's day. It's insulting. So if you cannot muster up indifference, and the reason I say you should be indifferent, because you shouldn't be surprised. They'll set up a Martin Luther King monument. They'll put Malcolm X on a postage stamp, put Harriet Tubman on a 20. They have always engaged in these symbolic acts of inclusion. They have always used our imagery and our suffering as a means to get a position of higher status and standing in the world. It is called propaganda. It is called tokenism. It is what Dale Jones called loosening up to get a tighter grip. That's all. And because we've been through this, because we've seen this over decades and decades and decades, when they do it, we should be, of course you're doing it. I expect you to do it. But I have an agenda as well. And I'm not going to let the little petty hustles that y'all run, the little scams that the government or its agencies or even multinational corporations, I'm not going to allow their scams. I'm going to understand it. I'm going to observe it. I'm going to research it. I'm going to teach about it, but I'm not going to be emotionally invested in that. That's that high vibrational frequency. That's being centered. That's being focused. We need liberation. So everything we observe outside of our liberation struggle will only be measured and valued on how it relates to our liberation struggle, how it adds to or detracts from our liberation struggle. If it adds to our liberation struggle, we enhance it. If it detracts from our liberation struggle, we neutralize it. And then we stay on the path to liberation. That's what indifference looks like. Okay. Because they could take a great Chinese American and put him on the $20 bill, and the Chinese government would be like, whatevs. We know what we want. We want to reinstitute the Sinocentric global economic empire. We had this agenda, and we're moving forward, and you put money, and you can take us off. You can call your trade wars. China, Trump, every time he turn around, he's on the news. China trade war. They're taking our jobs. We're going to stop, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, China has not deviated from its path, and the United States can throw all the tantrums and talk all the BS they want. China only focuses on assets and threats, opportunities and losses. That's it. So that's why I say we should be indifferent to the damn Tubman 20. I am indifferent. I don't give a damn. If I went to the store today and somebody gave me one of those doctored up Tubman 20s, I wouldn't feel any more pride than if somebody gave me a Jackson 20. The Jackson 20 has no more value than the Tubman 20, and any intelligent black person, any stable, critically thinking black person would not fall for the okie doke. You gonna take a Tubman 20 to bail your child out of prison or out of jail, or you take a Jackson 20? A 20 is a 20. But unfortunately, most black people are not conscious. And then also, unfortunately, a lot of conscious black folks, including myself, are not as centered as we would like to be. So the highest response is indifferent. Response number 2, outrage. How dare you? How dare you put one of our great ancestors on your filthy blood money? So if you can't be indifferent, you should be outraged. The lowest, most ridiculous response is pride, enthusiasm, favor, and support. And I hate to say this, but it's true. If you support the Tubman 20, you is a sucker. You're playing yourself. You is a gump. Whatever the term is, modern term is for a person that is easily manipulated, that's you. And I understand it can be a shock because most manipulated people, most propagandized, indoctrinated, sucker, scallywop chumps out here don't self-identify as sucker, scallywop chumps. So I understand it's a hard revelation. It's a hard pill to swallow. Or is it bitter pill to swallow? Whatever, however you take it. Because it is nothing more than a superficial, symbolic, insulting, pandering move. Like when Bloomberg said, I'm sorry that I continued the stop and frisk policy. Oops, my bad. And he only got sorry about it when he decided to become a Democratic presidential candidate. This is the only time he felt sorry. If you think that's a sincere apology, then the same people that would accept that as a sincere apology are just the same type of people that would think a Tubman 20 is happy birthday to you. But if the Tubman 20 is ever certified, and if the Tubman 20 ever comes, I will come on here, play the Holy Ghost music, and allow y'all a minute to celebrate before I come back to life. Because even it's about the people. I'm for the people. People get to what they want, and I will do that celebration mockingly. No, I won't. It'll be sincere, but mockingly sincere, sincerely mocking y'all, and then we'll move on. And you will see that the Tubman 20 does not in any way improve, change, or inspire. Remember all the young black people that were supposed to be inspired by Obama? So that's the Tubman 20. We should be indifferent to it. So imagine my outrage, or imagine my disillusionment when I see black folks fighting over something we should be indifferent to. We should be immune to their BS. We should be immune to it. It shouldn't have even taken an Obama saying, listen, black people rising to positions of authority within the oppressive system does not really work for us. 30 years ago, Amos Wilson broke it down scientifically, statistically, unequivocally. It was all, it's been, we should know. Black faces in high places and symbolic gestures from the system of oppression don't mean a thing. It ain't got that swing. But we still falling for the okie doke. And not only are we falling for that okie doke, this absurdist thing, now we're going to have an ancestral gender war. Because now we literally have black people on the two sides of this argument of the Tubman 20 and whether the Tubman 20 is a disrespect or a disgrace to the black race. Because a black man, because Judge Joe Brown stated that the power and pride of a race is the man. During the conversation, the status of the ethnic group is determined by its man, not its women. That's what. Let me just say that. Judge Joe Brown said, the status of an ethnic group is determined by its men, not its women. Brown said during a conversation with Umar Johnson, and putting a black woman on there before a black man is insulting to the black race because you're saying that men ain't worth a damn if you put a woman up there first. And to his credit, Umar was like, say what now? Umar, sitting in a filthy, wherever his studio in his filthy shirt and filthy dashiki, actually disagreed. Now he's like, I know women are scandalous. I know women are treacherous. I know women are child supportiest. But Umar's defending the Tubman 20. And Umar is fighting and in total disagreement with Judge Brown. And so Umar is a hotep. And now, if you go to the Root or any of these black websites, they're saying Judge Brown is a hotep. And this is the absurdity of the very concept of hotep. Because Joe Brown, because the thing, what is a hotep? A hotep, number one, is a pseudo-intellectual, a pseudo-scholar, a YouTube scholar, a social media scholar. All these insulting because people don't have the white man's letters. Many of them don't have degrees. And even if you have a degree, like I do, I have a master's. I graduated with honors. I am a lettered person. I am a schooled individual from kindergarten all the way up to grad school. I have always, valued academics and enrichment of my mind. But I get called a hotep because I don't go with the mainstream. But one of the things is that hoteps are supposed to be pseudo-intellectuals, pseudo-scholars. And we're supposed to be broke. Remember? Your mama basement, sleeping on your mama couch. Remember, bring something to the table and those memes with this broke down, raggedy table. And they say when hoteps say bring something to the table. But Joe Brown is not a pseudo-intellectual. He's not a pseudo-scholar. He is formally educated. Not only did he have a law degree, he was a legitimate judge. He is an accomplished investigator. Him and William Pepper have done excellent work. You should look up Judge Joe Brown and his ongoing investigation of the assassination of Dr. King. He was central to the effort to determine whether or not Dr. King was actually murdered by a lone nut gunman, or whether Dr. King was actually brought down by a conspiracy, a state-sanctioned, if not state-executed conspiracy. So he has an accomplished academic, accomplished career man, and even an accomplished researcher scholar. And he's not broke by any means. He's quite comfortable. He's quite comfortable. But now he's a hotep because he's saying this. And hotep is an African term meaning peace that a lot of Afrocentric people use as a greeting. Which I like hotep as a greeting. Much better than assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. That used to be the conscious black greeting in the 90s and 80s. And we thought we was being cold-blooded. Black folks who weren't even Muslims would be saying this. Or just say salam for short. Or peace God, which is still Islamic cultist thing with the 5%ers. But at least hotep is African in origins, as opposed to Arab or Islamic, which is anti-African. So around the early mid-90s, people started saying Alafia and saying hotep as greetings. And it kind of became associated with the black conscious community. I never really got into that. I say hi and bye. Sue me. Don't sue me again. All I got is a used Xbox and some worn cardigans. Don't waste your time. It's not worth your time. But sue me. Just never really got. But if someone said hotep to me, I would say hotep back. But if I saw them first, I'd say, hey, what's up? How you doing? Peace. I don't know. I'm not as black as I can be. I'll work on that. But anyway, hotep was essentially rooted in the idea that black people who adopt Afrocentric or African aesthetics, African ideologies, black nationalism, ideology, black militancy. That's what hotep was. Black people who took this superficial, non-academic path. And then they attribute the misogyny, the pseudoscience, and other absurdities rooted in the black conscious community to their desire to be Afrocentric, which would also suggest that if you weren't Afrocentric, you wouldn't be as stupid as you are, that it is somehow the desire to be a black nationalist, black militant, anti-white black person is the root, is the product, is what produces the whole teppery, the stupidity. So Dr. Umar's sexism, Dr. Umar's misogyny, Dr. Umar's irrationality, Dr. Umar's pseudoscientific ideas such as gay conversion are all rooted in his drive to be the Prince of Pan-Africanism, to be associated with everybody from Marcus Garvey to Frederick Douglass. So when you call it the Hotep, you're essentially putting the problem, making the core problem of these individuals, because they are problems. Brother Polite, and then this pseudo-Afrocentric mysticism and prosperity consciousness that he sells. Dr. Umar Sonnetter with his Don King, turning black research into some type of public buffoonery, ongoing, soap opera conflicts. Should I keep naming names? Because I'm going to get close to some people y'all like, because I got some names on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, the Hotep would suggest that if these people had not gone into pro-blackness, Afrocentricity, these individuals who would not be so stupid. But you got Judge Joe Brown, who is a mainstream nigga. That's around the way filet, pork eating, white woman chasing, black man that he ain't coming to Kwanzaa. He ain't eating no tofu. He ain't wearing no kufis. He ain't erecting no shrines. He ain't calling and pouring no libations to no ancestors. This is a mainstream suit and tie judge, black. He was a freaking judge. Law school, straight-laced Negro, all-American Yankee Doodle Pie. Yeah, Tyreek. A lot of hustlers are Afrocentric hustlers. But Tyreek's already been played himself. And some of them, these Afrocentric hustlers, y'all still like. A lot of them that y'all still roll with. I ain't gonna say their names. I still ain't rested up from my trip to Kansas City. So I gotta need a few more days before I call them names. Y'all still, Tariq, Umar, that's low-hanging fruit. But anyway, so what is Hotep? That proves to me that the African element is the element that they're mad about. Dr. Umar is not a Hotep because he has a formal white education and a formal white PhD. He's not a Hotep because he engages in pseudoscience. He's not a Hotep because he's a sexist, misogynist. He's not a Hotep because he's inconsistent and irrational. The only thing that can make you a Hotep is being pro-black. Why do I say this? Because I said long ago when this Hotep phenomenon went mainstream that everything that people call out in Hotep are Western European concepts. The pseudoscience. Y'all don't know about phrenology or even race theory and supremacist eugenics? All that. Or male supremacy? That's straight out of Judeo-Christian Western culture. That's Plato. That's Platonic philosophy. Everything that y'all hate about the Hoteps are behaviors and ideologies that came straight from European colonization and oppression of African people. All of it. There's not one element of that brings condemnation to the Hotep. Not one element of that is native or inherent in black people. It has all been exposed from the outside. So it ain't Hotep, it's howdy doody, partner. And I said, you instead of calling them Hotep, which is a greeting, you should call them howdies. And I say all the time, if you take away Marcus Garvey, RBG, if you take away from the superficial African rhetoric and aesthetics of Dr. Umar Johnson, if you strip away his RBG, if you take away his false claims to be a Frederick Douglass descendant, all you have left is a right-wing Judeo-Christian ideology. If Dr. Umar was not an Afrocentric, he could go join the Heritage Foundation, focus on the family. He would be very comfortable in the Trump administration. The jingoism, nationalism, tribalism, sexism, male supremacism, the patriot, the being patriarchal, the machismo, that is all Western, Eurocentric. So how did these very qualities that are white AF, and not only are they white AF, they're still prominent and present amongst white people? Trump. They're still, white people still have all those qualities. Trump is a eugenicist. He believes that he can breed his way to superiority. And not only does he believe he can breed his way to superiority, he believes he is a product of high breeding. He said that his intelligence comes from his father, not from his study, not from his research, not from his experience, but simply being born of his mother's wretched womb and his father's toxic sperm, and has made him a superior being. What's the term for that? All you people who say Hotep, what term, what is your title? Woke? So Judge Joe Brown, who is a black mainstream Christian, a black judge, a black educated man, who, as far as I know, in the years I've been aware of this man's presence, has always articulated mainstream political Judeo-Christian values. He is not Afrocentric. So what makes him a Hotep? And because people don't, black people, Hotep is a term of self-hate. Because when you can see a black man talk about male supremacism and turn around and associate that with Africa, then you're not conscious. Hell, you're a Hotep because you're being ahistorical and pseudoscientific. And Joe Brown, he's an alcoholic and he's aging and his mind is deteriorating. Y'all see 4 years ago when he was out staggering in the street and on that TMZ video? He's not a sober, clear-thinking person. And also, he's an idiot. Do you know some of the first official U.S. currency printed in the 1890s had a woman on it? In fact, the very second form of formal currency to come out of the U.S. Treasury had Isabella, Queen Isabella. It's called the Isabella Quarter or Columbian Exposition Quarter, was a United States commemorative coin struck in 1893. Congress authorized a peace at the request of the Board of Lady Managers. And we all know about the Sacagawea dollar. They've been putting women on U.S. currency long back when U.S. currency, back when a quarter was actually still made of a quarter silver. It was silver. In fact, if you got an Isabella quarter, hold on to it. It's really worth something. So way back in the 1890s, they've been putting women on currency. The Roman Empire put women on currency. So this idiot is imitating and saying that it is a disgrace to our manhood if they put a black woman first before a black man. I would say it's a disgrace to us if they put any of us on there. It's only a disgrace if they put us on there and we celebrate them putting us on there. Like I said, the most intelligent thing to be is indifferent to that bull. But going back, white men have always put women on their currency. Why? Because what is money? It is something you own. It is something you possess. It is something you control. It is something that you hold and use as value. It is something you invest in. and you receive reward for investment. What is woman? What is a woman to the white man? Even in terms of investment, you invest your sperm and then you get a return on your investment, a child. So actually in a sexist culture, it makes a lot of sense to put women on currency. Women are currency. Women used to be traded. Bought, sold, and traded as currency. Men literally own their wives in this country. So Judge Joe Brown isn't even good at being an idiot. He's not even good at sexism and patriarchy. In fact, in the U.S. tradition, it would be wholly appropriate to put women. It would be more appropriate. And in fact, they didn't start putting presidents and stuff on the U.S. currency. But what was it? To almost 100 years later. Well, I pulled it up. Anyway, they didn't start putting presidents on currency. And then they decided the Federal Reserve Bank sits down and just arbitrarily chooses people. The only rule to putting in someone on U.S. currency is they have to be dead, apparently. That's the only official rule. And there's another rule that you cannot change the U.S. dollar. You notice how they're always changing the 5s, the 10s, the 20s, the $100 bills. They're always changing. But if you got a $1 bill, they don't change the $1 bill. Curious. And that's by law they can't change it. It's not that they're just overlooking or being lazy. But we know for a fact that white men have been putting women on their currency. And the only way Judge Joe Brown could think that it's a disgrace to put a woman on there as a man is if he's fully accepted Judeo-Christian values. But he must also be ignorant of the history of U.S. currency. I think the Isabella coin was the second. So I don't remember who was the first face to appear. But prior to that, there was a time where they didn't even put people's faces on currency. They put buffaloes and trees and things of that nature. And again, if you weren't so GD Eurocentric, you could go to Haiti and find Toussaint Louverture is on currency. You can go to Ghana and find Nkrumah. You could go to Jamaica. In fact, in my house right now, I have a minted currency with Marcus Garvey, official Jamaican currency with Marcus Garvey on it. So if you really think it's a disgrace to put, there's black men and black faces on currency all over the world, but because your punk ass, Joe Brown, is so Eurocentric, the only thing that is the white man ain't did it. The white man is the white ISIS coder to Joe Brown. So I do believe that it would be a disgrace to put Tubman on the dollar. But not a disgrace to a disgrace to our race, but for a different reason. But I don't think it'll be a disgrace to our race. I think the real disgrace to our race is the fact that black people would celebrate this very obvious, superficial, empty gesture of the U.S. Federal Reserve System. I'm glad that Trump canceled the 20. I was outraged and annoyed that Obama proposed and approved it. After all the things he could have done for black people, draining black wealth, and then after taking that black wealth that he drained from the black community and stamping a black face on it, to me was a slap in the face. But I'm different. I'm like me and 2 Chainz. I'm different. I'm different. I pull up at the scene with the ceiling missing. So every time something happens, I look at the core of the issue, but I also like to look at how people respond to the issue. And the fact that now, officially, Judge Joe Brown is a hotep tells me that this hotep thing is anti-blackness. Now, Judge Joe Brown is a patriot. He's a patriotic American. Judge Joe Brown is a sexist. But his sexism is literally rooted in Judeo-Christian ideology, Western philosophy, American patriotism, and American patriarchy. Nothing that Judge Joe Brown has any relationship to Africa as a continent, or Egypt, or even Egyptian philosophy. If you go to Egypt, you find that there were goddesses and gods, queens and kings held at the same stature. When you look at the monuments in Africa, the women hold the same posture as the men. When you look at European sculpture, men are shown as strong and they're holding positions of uprightness. And you look at the women, their shoulders, even if you look at the Venus statue, where her head is always dropped to the side, showing modesty, and they look embarrassed. And they're always in these meek poses, where you look at the men and their shoulders are square and they stand up strong and forthright. So women are beauty in their meekness and softness and weakness, and men are powerful. But when you go to the Egyptians, when you go to African sculpture, when you go to the Dogon, when you go to the Zulu, you see their pre-colonial art and their pre-colonial philosophies and their pre-colonial myths and folklore do not present that way. So when you see black men talking and behaving in this way, it is nothing more Eurocentric than to say the black man is the leader of the race. That men should lead the race. He didn't get that from nothing. He didn't get that from the Matu Nater. He didn't get that from Dogon philosophy. He didn't get that from Obatala. He didn't get that from Ishun. He didn't get that from Ifa. Where the hell did he get that from? The goddamn Bible. He got that from law school, European law, white law school. But he's a hotep when he says it. The status of an ethnic group is determined by its men, not its women. Where? If you read European accounts of their first interactions with African men and African nations, the first thing they said about African men is, number one, they're very effeminate. Number two, they said they don't have proper control of their women. Same thing they said about Native Americans. And they also said the men dress like the women, and the women are topless, the women are unruly, the women are mouthy. The Arabs said the same thing. But now the black man and African culture is associated with sexism now. So whenever a black man says something absurdly sexist, absurdly anti-black woman, he's a hotep, he's African. So I guess if he was a hotep, if he said it would be a great honor to see a black woman. In fact, I think that black women are more worthy and more deserving to be on the white man's currency than a black man. What would he be then? If not a hotep? What's the opposite of a hotep? Y'all tell me. An American? A Christian? A Salam? What is the term for a non-hotep? Intelligent? Progressive? Pro-black woman? Y'all crossing signals here. If a black man behaves in the most Eurocentric way possible, he's called a hotep. Now, we used to call them Uncle Toms. We used to call them sellouts. We used to call them coons, handkerchief heads. We used to call them Oreo cookies. If he was a black man that acted and thought and articulated values that came from white folks, you were called an Oreo. But now you're called a hotep, a most sacred African term. Y'all figure that out for me. Don't mean a thing. It ain't for the love of money. And then you have black people on the other side. Now we literally have people arguing, are women more worthy to be on the currency first than black men? Now this is a debate they're trying to have. Which of our ancestors, the female ancestors do more for us than the male ancestors? Y'all really gonna let Judge Joe Brown start a ancestral gender war? Y'all really gonna try to fight about who was more effective in abolition? Was it Harriet Tubman or was it Frederick Douglass? Huh? Was Queen Nanny of the Maroons or Nat Turner? Who was the stronger anti-slave fighter? Really? Boy, let me tell y'all something. Boy, y'all Anyway, Bro Diallo Show, Q4 Radio. Please support my show. I would not be here if not for the support of my patrons, if the people making generous donations. Shout out to everybody that kicked in on the super chat. You know, I am truly for, by, and of the people. I appreciate y'all being here. I will be here tomorrow. I'm going to be here going long and strong all the way up into Jesus' birthday and long after. And I really appreciate y'all. I think I'm wrapping up my 3rd year, going into my 4th year of broadcasting, and it's all because of y'all and Ubuntu. I'm an Ubuntu. I am because we are because I am. Anyway, so I'll see y'all. What is it? Tomorrow, Wednesday, live and direct, Q4 Radio, AM 1680, Bro Diallo Show. Where's the thing at? Oh, there we go. And I forgot to say this, y'all. Y'all can call in. I'm going to start being more mindful about the call in segment and opening up the phones to the Bro Diallo Show. Too late to do it now, but that just hit me. I don't do that enough. And I'll try to be more mindful of that. Anyway, now, I'm gone for real now.